We are taught a comfortable certainty. School textbooks present our planet as a neat, multi-layered sphere. Crust, mantle, core. But what if the ground beneath our feet is entirely different from the theories we take for granted? The truth is, our understanding of the very planet we inhabit remains remarkably primitive. We spend billions scanning the depths of deep space, yet we still cannot definitively answer a fundamental question. Is the Earth a solid mass or a hollow sphere? For millennia, human cultures have shared a hauntingly consistent myth. A mysterious kingdom hidden deep underground. A world existing parallel to our own, yet entirely untouched by both the ancient and modern eras. Its inhabitants supposedly fled the burning sun and the raw brutality of early humans to build a thriving, advanced civilization within the vast spaces of the Earth's interior. Today, we know this legendary subterranean empire by one name, Agartha. Is it possible that an advanced civilization is hiding beneath the Earth's crust? Let us re-examine the evidence. Explorers and esoteric researchers have long maintained that Agartha is far more than a fairy tale. The Hollow Earth hypothesis has woven itself through the folklore of almost every ancient society. These cultures didn't just speak of caves, they spoke of an underworld inhabited by beings of extraordinary power. Agartha is simply the most enduring name for a kingdom of millions, said to be connected to the surface by a network of massive ancient tunnels. Look at the global blueprint of this myth. India. Ancient Vedic texts speak of Patala, a subterranean realm of breathtaking beauty, lush valleys, and green rivers. Some esoteric scholars even argue this was the true Garden of Eden, a subterranean paradise from which humanity was banished upward to the harsh surface. The Maya. Their sacred texts detail Xibalba, a highly structured underworld built by divine twins who eventually ascended to the surface. The Aztecs. Central to their origin story is Chicomostoc, the Seven Caves, from which their ancestors emerged to populate the surface world. Researchers are still searching for these chambers today. Curiously, those are only the beginning. When geographical distance made communication impossible, how did cultures separated by vast oceans formulate the exact same narrative? Before hell became a tool for fear, it was described as the cradle of the gods, a place of advanced technologies that jump-started primitive human development. Much like the global myth of the Great Flood, the legend of the underground civilization repeats itself too often to be a coincidence. But a documentary requires more than folklore. It requires eyewitness accounts. In the late 20th century, Swedish author Mariana Stierna published a highly controversial book titled Agartha, The World Within the Earth. The text claims to transcribe detailed communications with an entity named Tim, a man who allegedly stumbled into the planet's interior during a maritime accident. According to the account, Tim was on a cargo vessel when a rogue wave capsized his ship. Plunged into the ocean, he blacked out, only to awaken inside a vast, dimly lit subterranean tunnel system that opened into an unimaginable city. Tim described circular structure that lacked roofs, built from a marble-like material emitting a soft ambient glow. The streets allegedly shimmered like gold, dominated by an immense central palace. The inhabitants, described as tall, with long white hair and wearing simple robes, told him he had entered the core of the earth. Eventually, Tim was guided back to the surface via an underground corridor, emerging at the foot of Mount Shasta in California. When he returned home, he found his entire crew had been declared dead at sea. But when he tried to relate his experience, he was met with absolute skepticism. Neighbors and journalists dismissed him as traumatized and mentally unstable. Is it merely a fantasy story, or a heavily suppressed first-hand account? Surprisingly, science offers its own anomalies. The concept of a hollow Earth became a serious scientific debate centuries ago, heavily reinforced by the discovery of massive unexplored cavern systems worldwide. The core theory posits that the Earth is a hollow shell, housing an interior ecosystem sustained by a central inner sun, represented by the planet's core. A crust roughly 2,400 kilometers thick is all that separates us from them. While Jules Verne popularized this in his 1864 masterpiece, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Real-world scientists were already examining the mysterious properties of our planet's interior. In the late 19th century, geographer Arnoldo de Azevedo published Physical Geography, arguing that mainstream science knew virtually nothing about the deep underground. He proposed a centrifugal hypothesis. When the Earth was a spinning mass of molten lava during its formation, the immense centrifugal force threw the heaviest material outward from the center, leaving the interior hollow. Because this force is weakest at the poles, theorists argued that massive physical openings were formed at the top and bottom of the world. This wasn't proposed exclusively by fringe theorists. In 1692, Sir Edmund Halley, the legendary English astronomer royal, who discovered Halley's comet, officially put forward the thesis that the Earth was hollow, containing multiple concentric spheres. Halley famously argued that the aurora borealis, the northern lights, wasn't an atmospheric reflection, but luminous gas escaping from the polar openings of the inner Earth. Halley's ideas attracted attention from several leading thinkers of his era. By the early 20th century, the anomalies multiplied. Russian scientists mapping the Arctic discovered that the magnetic North Pole wasn't a fixed single point, but rather a moving 1,500 kilometer line stretching all the way to the Taimyr Peninsula in Siberia. Some hollow Earth proponents interpreted this behavior as consistent with a field wrapping around the lip of a massive polar opening. In the 1800s, John Cleave Sims lobbied the US government for funding to explore these Sims holes at the poles, claiming humans could easily live inside the interior. But the ultimate evidence wouldn't come from a laboratory. It would come from the most decorated explorer in US naval history. In February 1947, Rear Admiral Richard Byrd led a massive naval expedition into the Arctic. What occurred during that flight across the pole remains one of the most heavily debated stories of the 20th century. A controversial private journal attributed to Byrd was published posthumously in late 1965. If the diary is authentic, the straight-talking military man recorded a reality that reads like absolute madness. The journal claims that as his plane flew deeper over the polar cap, the ice suddenly vanished. Byrd reportedly logged temperatures rising to a tropical warmth, along with sightings of lush green valleys and prehistoric fauna like mammoths. According to the text, his flight controls suddenly went completely dead. Hovering alongside his aircraft were glowing saucer-shaped craft, completely silent, stamped with strange aerodynamic markings. The diary states that his radio crackled to life with a voice speaking English with a distinct Nordic accent. "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain." The journal claims Byrd was landed via remote control and led to meet the leaders of a realm called Aryan. They supposedly warned him that humanity's recent detonation of atomic bombs had threatened the stability of the entire planet, including the subterranean world. Admiral Byrd's expedition is a matter of undisputed military record. However, mainstream historians maintain the flight was a standard survey, and the alleged secret journal has never been verified by official archives. Hollow Earth proponents argue that upon his return to the surface, Byrd was subjected to a high-level, closed-door debriefing and ordered to keep his findings strictly confidential. However, historians note that thorough military debriefings and temporary classification protocols were entirely routine after high-stakes polar expedition during the early Cold War era. Mainstream science vehemently rejects Byrd's alleged findings, dismissing the hollow Earth as a structural impossibility. Geophysicists point out that under the laws of physics, a hollow sphere cannot support the immense gravitational stress of a planet's mass. The crust would simply collapse inward under its own weight. Furthermore, if a world existed inside the core, the net gravitational force inside a spherical shell would equal zero, meaning inhabitants would float aimlessly in a weightless environment rather than walk on internal continents. Yet, while researchers continue to dispute the validity of Byrd's private papers, modern geophysics stumbled upon an undeniable anomaly in the 1920s, one that shook the scientific community to its core. By measuring seismic waves from earthquakes, scientists discovered two continent-sized structures buried deep within the mantle. Known as Large Low-Shear Velocity Provinces, LLSVPs. These two massive anomalies sit directly at the boundary where the Earth's liquid outer core meets the solid mantle, more than 2,900 kilometers beneath our feet. One sits directly under the Pacific Ocean, the other rests beneath the African continent. Together, they occupy a staggering 1/3 of the core mantle boundary. To visualize just how deep this is, consider the true anatomy of our planet. Our standard geological model is broken down into distinct extreme environments. The crust, the outermost skin of the planet, averaging just 40 kilometers thick on land. The mantle, a 2,900 kilometer thick ocean of solid rock under unimaginable pressure, where a tiny fraction melts into liquid magma. The outer core, a 2,200 kilometer thick sea of superheated, swirling liquid iron-nickel alloy that generates our magnetic field. The inner core, a solid iron ball at the absolute center, roughly 1,380 kilometers thick. The two hidden subterranean continents sit locked inside the deepest layer of the mantle, accounting for roughly 8% of its total volume. Mainstream science has no way to directly observe them. Humanity's deepest physical scar on the planet, the Kola superdeep borehole, penetrated a mere 12 kilometers into the continental crust. At sea, where the crust is thinnest, Japan's advanced drilling vessel, the Chikyu, set a world record by drilling just 7.7 kilometers beneath the ocean floor. We have barely scratched the surface. As a result, our entire understanding of the Earth's interior relies on reading seismic echoes and running computer simulations. But scientists readily admit the flaw. These models only represent a fraction of mathematical possibilities. Reality could be vastly different. So how do we explain two continents inside the Earth? The initial hypothesis was simple. They are the sunken remnants of the supercontinent Pangaea. The theory suggested that after Pangaea fractured, massive tectonic plates slid into the mantle through subduction zones and settled near the core. But in recent years, geophysicists Harriet Lau and Paula Köhlemeyer shattered this theory. By analyzing pristine volcanic material erupted from mid-ocean ridges, they discovered trace elements traced directly back to these deep matter anomalies. The data revealed something stunning. This material is incredibly ancient, dating back 4.5 billion years to the literal birth of our planet. Pangaea formed merely 300 million years ago. These hidden internal structures are nearly 4.2 billion years older than Pangaea, directly refuting the tectonic collision theory. With the Pangaea hypothesis dead, scientists put forward an even more radical concept. These two anomalies are the shattered remnants of Theia, an ancient Mars-sized planet that collided with Earth billions of years ago. The corpse of an alien world resting eternally inside our own. At first glance, these ancient structures appear to have nothing to do with Agartha. Modern geophysicists don't believe they hide underground cities or biological life. Yet history takes a strange turn. Long before these mantle anomalies were ever mapped by modern sensors, several governments, and one infamous regime, were already looking for an entirely different world beneath the polar ice. A ruthless, hyper-rational dictator like Adolf Hitler did not waste military resources on baseless myths, yet historical researchers note that the Nazi regime held a documented obsession with the occult, including fringe cosmological models like the Hollow Earth. In 1938, Nazi Germany launched a massive expedition to Antarctica, claiming a vast territory they named Neuschwabenland, New Swabia. In 1943, Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz made a cryptic declaration to the German High Command. The German submarine fleet is proud to have built for the Führer, in another part of the world, an unassailable fortress, a Shangri-La on the Antarctic continent. Esoteric researchers point to documents allegedly recovered from a sunken U-boat, which purport to show detailed topographies of the Antarctic interior. These unverified maps label a massive internal landmass called Asgard, bordered by the Valkyrian Ocean. Deep in the lower quadrants sits the legendary city of Shambhala, matching the coordinate descriptions kept by Tibetan monks for centuries, who maintained that Shambhala was a real city beneath the crust. Was this merely elaborate wartime propaganda, or did Hitler seek a subterranean sanctuary? A secret underground corridor would allow a defeated military to vanish entirely. Among these fringe theories is an unverified letter attributed to a crew member aboard the German submarine U-209, commanded by Captain Heinrich Brodder. The letter reads, "Dear old comrade, U-boat 209 has done it. The Earth is hollow, just as Dr. Haushofer and Hess predicted. We have reached the interior, and we will not be returning." When Berlin fell, Hitler and his wife's bodies were burned beyond recognition, leaving dental records as the primary proof of death. For decades, a haunting question has lingered among alternative historians. Did the dictator die in the bunker, or did he escape through the ice to a pre-built domain in Agartha? This Antarctic mystery explains why, immediately after the war, the Allies scrambled their military toward the poles. In 1947, Admiral Richard Byrd was placed in command of Operation High Jump, a massive mobilization of 4,000 elite troops from the US, Britain and Australia. Officially labeled a mapping exercise, the sheer scale of the military hardware suggested otherwise. The expedition ended earlier than planned, fueling decades of intense speculation among conspiracy researchers, who claimed the true objective was to locate and destroy a hidden German base. 2 years later, in 1949, the first US Secretary of Defense, James Forrestal, the man who oversaw Operation High Jump, was abruptly hospitalized at Bethesda Naval Hospital, officially suffering from a mental breakdown. Rumors persist among fringe groups that Forrestal spoke frantically to medical staff about UFOs, Atlantis, and a secret Nazi city beneath the ice. Days later, Forrestal died after falling from a 16th floor hospital window. While the official report ruled the death a suicide, alternative researchers frequently allege he was silenced by intelligence agents to protect the secrets uncovered during the Antarctic expeditions. If Agartha exists, Antarctica and the Arctic may not be the only gateways. The entrance might be far closer than we think. Look at the global energy matrix under our feet. For thousands of years, ancient cultures believed in the omphalos, sacred central nexuses of the Earth. These points are connected across continents by deliberate, straight geometric alignments known as ley lines. This global grid influenced everything from the placement of megalithic monuments like Stonehenge and the pyramids to the migration patterns of animals. Many esoteric researchers believe these intersecting energy lines act as dimensional or physical rifts, gateways capable of opening direct access to Agartha from the heart of our major continents. The evidence for an advanced civilization deep within the Earth remains an elusive puzzle, shimmering through the margin of suppressed history and anomalous science. When we look at the formation of matter, nothing in nature is completely solid. During the manufacturing of steel, microscopic air bubbles naturally form within the molten liquid. It requires deliberate technology to compress them out. When the Earth was a spinning mass of molten rock 4.5 billion years ago, is it not possible that immense planetary-scale bubbles naturally seal themselves inside the cooling crust? If the Earth were the size of an apple, humanity's entire existence wouldn't even equal the size of a single virus living on the skin. From the perspective of that virus, trying to comprehend the depth, the architecture, and the secrets of the apple's core is nearly unimaginable. Are the ancient alien continents discovered by our satellites truly the legendary world of Agartha? Until human technology takes a monumental leap forward, the world beneath our feet will remain our planet's greatest frontier. Perhaps Agartha never existed. Perhaps it exists only in the oldest memories of humanity. Or perhaps the greatest mystery isn't whether a civilization lives beneath us, but why civilizations separated by oceans all imagine the same hidden world, until we can journey deeper than 12 kilometers. Every answer remains buried beneath our feet. I'm Eddie. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next investigation.